So today we got the car out to do the alignment on it because basically to make a hit on the street, the car needs aligned. It needs that coolant hose fixed, right? And then the cowl tracks set, unless we're gonna find a way to check the rear end squareness in the car, which I kind of want to do. Anyways, we need to get the alignment basically as good as I'm gonna have it. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a race car, but it's got to be close enough where it doesn't try to kill me. So, like as far as bump steer goes, these A-arms were used off of somebody else's car, somebody's Camaro back east, and so the alignment was kind of set up on the top A-arms when I got them, and I haven't messed with them. I actually counted how many turns out everything was, unscrewed it, have everything powder coated, then put everything back in exactly how it came out of the A-arms so that it could go back on exactly how it was on his car. Although I don't even know what his car was like or anything, but I figured it was aligned, you know. So when we go through and check everything, it looks like the caster is where it needs to. Basically, on these A-arms, here I'll show them. The way these TRZ A-arms work, in any factory A-arm, the TRZ are supposed to have a built-in 7 degrees of caster, positive caster, and I don't see how that is, because basically with this Heim joint turned as far out as it is, that would be turned in back there. I would call that turned out. It's got about 8 degrees of camber, or caster, sorry, 8 degrees of positive caster right now, which turning that out also affects camber. So it's about a half a degree out right now, and I don't know what rolling it in half a degree will do to the caster, but I'm going to end up with whatever caster I get when I zero the camber. This side, however, then that's exactly how it is. I'm getting like 7 to 8 degrees of caster, and I'm getting half a degree out on the top of camber, which is not good enough to me. I'm gonna try to get it closer. I think I'm gonna go like a half a turn on the Heim joint and see what that does, you know. This side, I'm ending up with relatively similar caster, but the camber is out like a degree and a half, a little bit more than a degree and a half on the top. So we are checking level or 0 degrees off of the frame rails and a straight edge so that we could get 0 degrees. So we're going to try to get it within, you know, put as close to 0 as we can. We're going to jack it up, see what the caster is then, and then we're going to start screwing with bump steer. Is that cool with you? I said, is it cool with you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it cool with you? No. Not cool with you? Of course not. You're probably not going to do nothing, huh?
So how are you going to show us how you're going to figure this all out?
I mean, if you want to record it, I'm not going to hold the phone for that. I got to go get the jack.
Okay, bye.
Tell me you cut. So since our last, you know, filming, which was aligning the car, that was probably 2 weekends ago on the slab over there. And that's when we started to align the car. And then, like anything else on the car, realized that it needed more than just the basic stuff. And we put it back in the garage. And every weekend since then, we've been trying to align the car correctly. And I think we finally got it figured out pretty good. But it took a lot of research and a lot of, actually some pretty upset times. Because when I built the car, I put the rack and pinion too high in the car. And so that caused problems with bump steer at full droop, or full extension, which we want to be able to use all of our extension because it's a small tire, no prep car. So we lowered the rack a little bit lower in the car, but we're only able to lower it like 1/4 of an inch because it hits the bottom frame rails in the car. And so, yeah, we lowered it about 1/4 of an inch, and then we ended up finding out the car had, like, when we first, because these A-arms are used off of another guy's car, and when we put them on the car had like 10 degrees of caster, and like it was like a degree out on the top of camber on each side, pretty consistently actually. And so we decided to try to get the camber back where it belonged. We'd roll the caster forward like 1.5 degrees, try to get it close to like 9 degrees or 7 degrees, which is what TRZ calls for. And we did. We got it back to 0 degrees of camber and set exactly 7 degrees of caster, positive caster. And then all of a sudden the car had like almost 2 inches of bump steer, of toe-in bump steer at full extension. So me and Boyd racked our heads in the wall. That's when we realized the rack was too high in the car. So that's when we lowered the rack 1/4 inch. And then it still had like 1 inch of toe-in at full extension. So I ended up calling a bunch of people, TRZ, Motorsports, who built the A-arms and the steering arms on the car. Talked to a bunch of reputable alignment people, and everybody was like saying, you know, can you mount the tie rods on top of the steering arms like some people do if the car's too low or the rack's too high? And if I mounted the tie rods on top of the steering arms, it would have toe out bump steer, just barely. Basically, the tie rods wanted to be right where the tie rod ends, wanted to be right where the steering arms were, not below them or above it, which is really, unless you have a custom steering arm built, wasn't really possible to achieve that. So nobody wanted to build us steering arms. Everybody was like, yeah, well, that's, you know, the steering arms we sell or what we sell, and they're all basically just like those. So I called Smith Racecraft and talked to Kim, who I've always heard really good things about, but he proved them. That guy walked me through and told me, he's like, you know, yeah, you need all the extension, because he was basically saying if I limit the extension on the car, I probably won't have much bump steer. I'll have half the bump steer because the extension is what's causing, you know, the steering arms to turn in. So he kind of gave me some good direction to go and told me what my problem was. And then when I got home that night, Boyd had told me, he's like, how come the car never had that problem before? When we pushed the car around and we painted the car, everything we did to the car, we jacked the front end up, and the alignment would always stay nice with the same rack and pinion, everything in it. And it dawned on me at that moment that when you put more caster in the car, it rolls the steering arms back because it's rolling the spindle back, and the steering arms are attached to the spindle, which would raise the steering arms quite a bit, really, throughout 2 degrees of caster, positive caster. And so I told Boyd, that's got to be our problem. So, Susie. So we put 2 degrees more caster in it, and it made the bump steer go way, way down. We didn't go all the way to 10 degrees of caster, which Kim at Smith Racecraft was telling me, you know, yeah, you could put 10 degrees of caster in that car, ain't gonna hurt it. And I was gonna put 10 degrees of caster in it, but basically the A-arm Heim joints were maxed out at like 9 degrees of caster, and it's right at 0 degrees of camber. So, and I'm ending up with like, I think it was 1/4 inch or 3/16 of, you know, toe-in bump steer at full extension. So I'm happy with that. So now the car is, and then we put like 1/16 of an inch toe in at this height right here, which the car sits a little lower in the front than I wanted because it's so soft it's still settling. And I cut the trick springs down to lower the car to get it basically a little higher than what it's at right now, but it's just sagged lower and lower the longer it sits here. So we might have to put taller springs in the car to get the crank center line higher in the car because it sits really low in the front. If the car doesn't work right, the first thing I'm going to do is probably change the springs in the front, maybe put coilovers or something to lift the car in the front higher. I don't like it this low in the front anyways. So we've got everything nut and bolted on the car that we could think of. I keep finding loose stuff on the car, which, I don't know, is what it is. We wanted to go put the car on a lift and nut and bolt everything, but instead we jacked it up in the garage and we nut and bolted a lot of the suspension parts and the motor plates and stuff like that. But I think we're going to go do a little test drive because I really want to see if the transmission shifts, because I've never driven on this transmission. It's still just been ran, you know, put in first gear and reverse and neutral, and you know, it goes through all the gears. I just want to make sure that it'll shift and not like do anything crazy, because I think I did a good job, but I haven't driven it yet, so we need to go find out, see if the third member makes noise or excessive noise. It's going to make noise. See if it makes excessive noise. See if it even drives straight. God, that'd suck if I didn't even do a good alignment. I feel like I did pretty good alignment. Boyd was over it. At the end there, Boyd was like, Man, it's good enough. You need to knock it off. We need to at least just go see if it drives wrong, you know. So hopefully it drives perfectly straight, because it'd really hurt my feelings if it don't. So yeah.
You good?
Second gear.
It only goes into second gear.
Notice when I stop the car,
Yeah.
second it fucking slams the brakes. That's not the brakes, that's second gear. I don't know what I did wrong, but it don't shift. When you put it in second gear, stops the car.
Fuck.
Which really, for whatever reason, when you shift from first to second, it stops the car. Like, locks the brakes up. Which I would have never even expected, except my dad told me that he built the transmission wrong one time and it did that. He said that he took
Fuck.
off all crazy in first gear and shifted to second and it slammed on the brakes. And it like wants to stop the motor. So we probably ought to fire it up and get home before somebody calls the cops, because it's loud. And this lady has like goats and shit. It sure don't go very fast in first gear too. It's gonna be a long trip home. But this is the best place I could find to turn around. Yeah, I shifted to second twice and it locked the tires up. So I loaded back up in the garage. And later on we'll put it, I'm gonna do some research. See what's causing that.
Okay.
This fucking sucks.
I'm glad that we did it here and not an hour away from home.
Right. Do you hear a car coming?
No.
Well, I'm gonna try to pull forward here, back up again, and then hopefully I can go.
I'll stay behind you.
It's not easy to shift.
Okay, let me get out of your way.
Yeah, no second gear.
Awesome. Awesome.
Time to put a standard in it.
Aha.
I'm
Here's
not
the
joking. If I gotta pull the transmission out of it, I'm gonna be hard. It's gonna be really difficult to put a standard back in it. Man, it goes right a little bit. Did you see that? Kinda hop on it.
Yeah, I got it on video.
I don't know what's up with that. It fucking feels cool when it picks up on the front to get it. Like, it smoked the tires and it, you know, smoked the tires and went right. And it was like, I was like, oh, that feels fucking cool. I can only imagine in second gear. I'm gonna go in the house and cry for a little bit because that's the first transmission I've ever built, which is ironic. The second one I've ever built is running right now. Like as we speak, they're running it, and it does fine. But that's the first transmission I ever built, and if I was to build another one, up until 10 minutes ago, I would have built it the same way I built this one. I don't know what I did wrong. I must have put a ball in the wrong place in the valve body, because everything internally is fine. But as far as the alignment, it drives good. Drives straight. It's hard to turn. It doesn't turn very good, which is funny because it turns easy when it's sitting, but once you get driving, it does not turn very good. It drives straight until you get on the gas. Then it goes right, which is exactly what my dad said it would do. We could put more turns on the right, Caltrac bar.
Yeah.
Anyways, the plan from here is to check tire pressure because it's really hard to turn. That's a kind of a downfall of a lot of positive caster, is it lays the spindle back, so the wheel returns to center really well because the spindle's laid back. So like as soon as you let go of the steering wheel when it's turned, it's supposed to want to return back easy. But the downside to it is it does not want to turn well once you get going, and it definitely does that. So I'm glad we didn't put more caster in it. I didn't go fast enough to stop, but it seemed like it stopped really well. It hauls ass. I will say, with the way it runs, it wants to idle or it wants to haul ass. It's like a freaking Bronco. Like, there's no in the middle. It's like blah, 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 blah. It's not happy. It's not fun to cruise.
Well, that's not what it's made for, so.
That's why it'd kind of be cool to put a standard in it. I'm kind of like really wanting to put a standard in this car.
Okay.
It'd be dumb because I wouldn't be as fast as it should be. It'll slow the car down no matter what I do. But man, it would be cool. I might go buy a standard right now.
Uh-oh.
With one of those, I forget what the shifters are, but it's basically a standard, it's a clutch, like we'd put like a T5 in it, not a T5, but like a TR5 or some badass 5-speed, aluminum cased 5-speed. But the shifter basically that I like, you just grab it and you, like first gear, pull it for second, pull it for third, all the way to fifth, and then you push in the clutch and you have to like shift it back to neutral and start over again. So it's not really street friendly. This isn't a street car, especially not with the way it runs in the mid area, because the way the Dominator is on this car, it's not really set up for cruising. I set it up for hauling ass. So I'm happy with how it runs it.
Cool.
I mean, it drives, it's fun as hell to drive. I just wish it would go faster. I can't shift out of first. I mean, honestly, for a car that has really low gearing, and first gear is really low on a Turbo 400. It's like 248, the ratio. So like with a 456, it's supposed to be really low geared, but it doesn't feel that bad. I feel like in third gear, I should be able, I could drive this thing to town if I had third gear. But shift into third gear. It has no third, no second. You put it in the second or third of the motor and it'll just idle, but it's like putting the brakes on. So must have set something up too tight or put a ball where it doesn't belong. So maybe there will be a Turbo 400 for sale soon, real cheap. I'm out. Okay, so we took the transmission out of the car after last weekend's test drive when it locked up in second and third gear. Thinking the Sprag was in backwards. The Sprag was not in backwards, and it is basically impossible to put in backwards if you have any common sense in a 69 and older core, which is what this is. And so we checked the Sprag, it was fine. The intermediate roller clutch was good. I put that in right. I thought I'd put something in backwards, which I took good notes, so it kind of said that I didn't, but if it was right, it wouldn't have been a problem. So I posted on the Facebook page asking if anybody would know any issues, and I posted how many check balls I put in the what do they call that in the bottom of the valve body? Yeah, in the valve body. And I put what Jake's Performance uses on their recalibration like shift kit, and turns out on their billet valve body you don't run check balls, so it was trans braking in second gear. But essentially, it's not literally what it was doing, that's like what it was doing. Yeah. And it loosened up some clutches. I don't know if it was because of that or what, but
dude, I was almost off this whole head.
What? I was almost off.
I was gonna grab the door, but I'm trying to record at the same time.
No, I got it down to a science. I can get in here just in the nick of time.
That's me trying to get out of the Mustang too. It does say me.
Okay, check it again. Okay.
All I have to do is start it.
I think the shifter's off.
Huh?
The shifter's off.
It's
Adjustment.
always off. You need a new one, dude. You learn how. I heard you stop, and I heard it bang a gear right there. It's the only time I ever heard it shift. I couldn't hear it. The windows fucking stuck up on me.
Well, not when I took off in second gear. I took off in second gear, and then I shifted to third, and I went to shift to third, and I'm like, I have no third gear. And then I thought, the shifter needs adjusted a little bit. So I was like, oh shit, well, I was in second gear when I drove out of here. And so I stopped, and I downshifted to first, and it has first and second. And then I took off, and I don't know how big of a deal it is, but I let it roll while it was in second gear for a while, like coasting. And then I shifted into third because I forgot it doesn't have second gear braking band anymore. So well, the band doesn't grab the direct drum when it rolls. So I don't know what it does to it really, but you're not supposed to let them coast in second. What do you mean when it rolls? When you coast downhill, you're supposed to click it into third. Because it doesn't have the braking band. I don't know, but I stopped up here and I like quarter throttled it through the gears and it shifts awesome. And the converter is perfect. It's a little tight, but it's perfect. It was spinning the tires. But it transfers weight like crazy.
Yeah, it does.
Like it feels like your car when I was a kid, like you can't see over the hood.
Yeah. That's good. That'll hook up.
Well, it didn't hook up, but it has dirt and shit on the tires, so. Hey, even smoking the tires and shit, it was boogieing. Like I had to let off. That was only obviously like 5,000 RPM because it was already moving fast. Just my right headlight keeps falling out.
Your tail light's out too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Driver's side tail light.
I don't know.
Yeah, it
Huh.
goes out.
I don't know what's up with that. It don't pull to the right or nothing. It goes straight.
It did
which
go
I'm
straight
so
on.
excited for it because last time I nailed it and it went. Whoa.
Yeah, dude, he had 11 pounds in the back tire on the left and 17 on the right.
Oh, that's what it was?
Yeah.
I'm glad it was that simple.
I hope
It
that
drives
that's all
super
it is.
straight, but it don't turn very well like it.
Nah, we need to fix that, dude.
Like when you drive a stock Nova or Chevelle, they just drive
we
like
either
power
need to build
steering.
you some headers again
I
or
know.
change
That
tires.
sucks.
What tires do you have on right now? 27s or 28s?
I think they're 27s or 6s.
I hope they're around 26s.
If they're 28s, man, we finna put 25s on them though.
That'll help a lot.
Yeah, because that will suck. But hey, to be totally honest with you, you could turn it more. It won't turn any sharper. The car won't turn anymore because that freaking spool.
Yeah. Well, it gets close to your
It's not up until
Your-
it's posi trap.
bars too at that point.
I get what you're saying. Get close to my bars.
Yeah. A connector subframe.
Oh,
I think they get close to that after that because the car's
they
so
do.
low.
The like upper front kickers, whatever you call those.
Yeah.
You know what bothers me the worst? Is that the lights don't work. I spent so much time doing that all right. Hey, but that tranny shifts though, dude.
That's all I was
Fucking
nervous
shifts
about because I heard you
good.
driving the whole way and I'm like, dude, it's not shifting. I don't hear nothing.
I was so scared that I'd click second and it would like bang or boom.
Well,
like
you
it-
stopped. I'm
shift
like,
cherry.
oh, why did you stop?
It's like a letter E. So the second test drive was what I was hoping for on the first test drive, except for if we would have had this test drive on the first test drive, I would be like super stoked because we wouldn't have had to pull the tranny out of it this
God,
week. And
dude. It's always something with him.
So it wasn't that great because it was the second test drive.
I want excellence on the first pass.
He wants a car to go perfectly straight and shift everything perfect and run 7,000, 8,000 RPM on the first test pass in the 3 years of building the car. Really? You know how dumb that sounded right there?
Sounds great to me. We did it on the second time. That wasn't 7,000, but
Don't
I
say
mean,
that shit.
I'm pretty. Yeah, I know. What's gonna happen when we turn it up to 8,000? Are we gonna spit the rod bolts out of it, or? I hope not. If so, we're just gonna put a diesel on it or something. That'd be so much work, though.
Twin turbo big block, homie.
Right? It already sits perfect with a small block in it.
I know.
Like after we go get on it and it like unloads the front end, when I come back and park it, it sits
That's
perfect.
the sad part of being in that. Dude, I couldn't tell anything. I couldn't see
Really?
nothing. All I heard was it running.
You know what's funny? Is that time when I drove it, like when I can get out of first gear and get into second's chilling.
You
Driving
left
Pioneer
in.
Road,
You left in second.
I left the yard in second gear.
No, you launched in second right there, or
No, it was first.
just took
Oh,
off.
if I would have put it in second, gave it a little,
I wonder if it would have tried to hit.
it would have said.
You were so hard to keep up with.
I do.
Yeah.
You were going at least 40 miles an hour up the canyon.
Didn't feel like it.
I
Yeah,
could
you
not
were-
keep up with you.
Yeah,
like
'cause I was in
20.
second gear, and I'm like, they're leaving me out of being third gear.
The one thing that's funny about driving this car compared to like the Mustang or any other normal car, or especially a truck, is you sit so far back in the car that like when you go around corners, you're like looking over the hood because you feel like you're gonna go too far because like you're sitting in the car and like when you go around
Yeah.
corners, it drives with the rear. Like it doesn't turn and like go. It like wants to like go through the turn because I'm assuming
It
because
ain't
the
a street car anymore.
yeah, it's like,
dog.
bro, I want to go straight, and I'm trying to turn it. It's like, what's this NASCAR shit? It's a thoroughbred. It's not used to that sissy stuff. Anyways, yeah, that was a successful outing for the second pass. I was hoping to get that the first time, which I'm happy with it on the second time, but I wanted to go testing this weekend. So next weekend we can't go testing because we have a truck pool.
Go
so-
Saturday. My shit's
Oh
on.
yeah,
My shit's on kill all the time.
The
Dude,
truck
all I
pulls
gotta
on
do is load
Sunday.
it up Sunday morning.
Showtime B, saving us time. Showtime, save time, good
Yeah.
time,
Anytime.
fun time. Call us for a good time.
Hey, no
Anyways,
joke though. I loaded that truck up Friday night and it was good to go. So
bet.
I think I'm ready to roll.
We might want to once over the suspension on the pull truck, just so when we show up to Bellata, we ain't fucking around.
Boyd suspension?
I hear visitors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we'll go testing next weekend. I kind of want to put the hood on now. Whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna redesign the headlights because
Yeah, you keep fucking
yeah, I ain't gonna have the headlights
popping
falling out.
out, dude.
This thing needs to be street double. Yeah, I feel so much more confident now. Like I'll take this thing in Templeton Cruise night. I don't even care.
Fucker loud though.
It is noisy. And I don't like that. Inside the cab, it's not too bad.
It's not like horrible because like I can barely hear you when you get 20, 30 feet away from me and inside the cab of the Toyota I can hear you.
I bet you it's loud in the canyon though.
That's why I was all pissed off. I'm like, damn, the window won't roll down, dude. I bet
That's
I bet passenger
frustrating.
window down too.
So
Aw,
you know you're ghetto.
driving with the door open.
Yeah, dude. With a standard truck.
Yeah.
Trying not to fall out.
Oh,
I know,
Jesus.
it's like jerking around, the door's trying to shut. I'm like,
You're like
Yeah.
trying to hold the
Yeah,
steering wheel,
it's a
trying to hold the
disaster.
door, trying to hold the
I'm
shifter.
leaned up out the window trying to hear it the whole time. So yeah, well,
I'm not gonna lie. I'm starving
I am starving.
because we worked through dinner. But hey, we took the transmission out of this car, what, Sunday? Last Sunday? We test drove the car Saturday night. It didn't shift. It locked up in second gear because I put check balls in the wrong place.
It's like Sunday night when we got it out.
Yeah, we took the transmission out of the car. I took all day Sunday to unbolt everything because this tranny is a bear to get out of this car because the motor's really far back in the firewall. So I got the transmission all loose. We dropped it out of it Sunday night. Like Monday or Tuesday, whenever that was, I think it was Monday, I brought my transmission table home that I build transmissions on. And me and him put the transmission on there. We pulled it apart. And then we found out that we didn't put it together wrong as far as the internals of the transmission.
We found out that he wasted his time pulling it
Yeah,
out.
that's the dumbest part. But you know what? Whatever. I would have been stressed out about what is wrong inside the transmission if I didn't take it all apart. But we took the transmission, put it on the table, took it apart, and found out that we didn't need to. Like, we could have just took the valve body off of the car
Yeah.
or out of the
Pull
car.
the pan out.
Yeah.
That would have been right there.
You know what?
I hate wearing transmission fluid. Like, I'd rather take the tranny out than drip transmission fluid on my arms and down my elbows. Gets down on your wayness. I hate oil on my wayness.
It's not weenus, is it?
That's your wayness, right?
Weenus or something.
Wait, something like that.
Something. That's
Um,
better than I was about to say.
So we took the check balls out, checked the internals of the transmission, measured end plays again just to see where our clutch stack ups have ended up and what they're doing in there. And then we put everything back together, torqued it up, put a new pan gasket on, reused the pump gasket.
That was all yesterday.
That was all yesterday because I waited for gaskets to come in all week and the gaskets never came in. Some of them did, some of them didn't. And so we decided yesterday, unless we want to wait another week, probably, because we don't have time during the week with our jobs. We work sometimes 10-hour shifts, sometimes 20-hour shifts. So we haven't had time during the week to screw with this. So I wanted to go testing next weekend. So I wanted to test the car here this weekend. So anyways, we put the transmission back in the car last night. And then today we just took the day and buttoned stuff up.
That was a disaster.
That was a disaster.
Man.
Putting the bell housing bolts in this car takes a solid hour. Just the bell housing bolts. And there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's 6 of them.
6? Yeah.
There's supposed to be 7, but there's 6 on an LS. So that takes like an hour alone. And then we're both in the car working on it. So like I had to wait to do the one side because he was doing something over here. So like I had to do something over there, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and the car is motor and mid-plated. So when we tuck the transmission out of the car, the transmission's what's holding the car fore and aft, the motor inside the car. The motor plates hold the car, you know, side to side, but fore and aft is the transmission cross member that holds the motor forward. So when we took the when we took the transmission out of the car, the motor fell back and hit the firewall.
Yeah,
And
and like flexing
Yeah.
the mid plate all
And the
weird.
mid plate was all bent.
Yeah,
So when we went to put the tranny back in the car, whew,
that was a disaster.
we were so pissed at each other. It was later than this. I was like 10 o'clock last night.
Yeah,
We had to strap the motor to the front of the frame and like suck the motor forward. Then we had to like jam the tranny in the car with a.
I can't believe
Jack.
when we got it. I was like, wow, I can't believe we just got that.
When we first built this car, we were like, don't scratch it, be careful. And we still are with the body, but underneath the car, because the car is just as clean underneath as it is on top. So we were really careful about scratching it, right? We tried to put this tranny in and out so many times last night, and then when we were pulling it out the other day, it was such a pain in the butt that we scraped the floor up. So last night we couldn't get it in the car. We needed like a 1/4 inch for the one dowel to line up, trying to get the transmission up in the car. So I told Boyd, screw it, pull the transmission out one more time. We pulled it out. We're using a floor jack, by the way. Just a pain in the butt too, because you're like being a ballerina. So we pulled the tranny back out, and I took my sledgehammer and I just beat the shit out of the floor of the car. And so now it goes in there nice like. I mean, it's still
Not
tight,
nice, like
Yeah, it's
still
tight.
miserable,
but it goes in though. Before it was not going in. It's funny how sometimes with mechanical stuff you pull something apart and it just don't want to go back together the way it came apart.
Yeah, I don't want to be here for that one again.
Well, next time we take the motor and tranny out of the car, which is hopefully in a long time, I'm gonna pick the front of the car up real high with my crane at work, and I'm gonna I have like a 5-foot tall, 50-pound hammer, and I'm just gonna yeet the floor of the car like a derby car. You won't even know. I'll do it nicely. I'll kind of body work it, and I'll repaint the floor underneath, and then we could put 4L80 in it if we wanted to.
That's if you don't cut the firewall out.
So anyways, that's it. See you next weekend.